Let's start with this turning radius. Look at this. Cold open. It's like a Wes Anderson movie. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. As always, today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record here, and you guys are always emailing me. And please keep doing this when you use Off the Record and they get you out of a ticket. Man, I got a good one the other day. It was in Nebraska. Big one, and it was a patron, actually, and totally got out of it. Basically, if you get pulled over, if you get a ticket, if you get stopped by law enforcement and issued a summons, call Off the Record. Well, don't literally call. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or download that Off the Record app and use code TST pod, and Off the Record will fight that ticket in the jurisdiction you got it. They'll connect with a qualified attorney that'll handle that ticket, go to court, meet with the prosecutor, the whole deal. You don't have to do anything. It's so easy. You'll just send them a photo of the ticket, a brief explanation of what happened, and Off the Record will take care of the rest. I've used them so many times, and you guys out there in podcast land have clearly as well. So once again, that's offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TSTPOD, TSTPOD, for 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. All right, kids, in this one, Zach and I are returning from a little off-roading adventure in the Ineos Grenadier Quartermaster pickup truck. And so we talk about that a little bit. Plus, someone has actually been cited in Australia's new Supercar high-performance driving license requirements thing. So we really get into that. Plus, should you get a Deman Cayman or a stock GT3, what is the best rental car for a trip to Los Angeles, and a whole lot more. Let's take a drive home from the mountain with Zach and I. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Let's go. Cold open. Turning radius. What?
And ADAS.
No, the ADAS is supposed to be still off. Are we still in off-road mode? Does that last through a cycle?
I'll check. We'll use the favorite button. Settings.
Vehicle. ADAS. Oh, wow.
It's still deactivated.
No. Yeah, deactivate, yeah. Right. Hello. Jesus Christ.
What is that?
I don't know. It might just be because maybe we're out of off-road mode and our tires are still low. You think it's just warning us?
Maybe.
I don't know. Hi, everybody. Learning in real time with Matt and Zach.
Yeah.
This is called.
We don't read the manual.
Welcome to another rolling edition of the Smoking Tire Podcast. Hopefully, if you're listening on one of those like $100,000 tube systems where you have to sit in a very specific dot in the middle of the floor, the off-roadiness of the Ineos Grenadier right now isn't messing with you too much.
That's a good test for sound deadening in this car. Can the person with the $100,000 Sonos system feel the rocks beneath our feet?
This is our version of that Howard Stern bit where he made the lady have an orgasm in the bass.
If you're sitting on your speaker, don't tell us.
Yeah. The rumble. But actually, pretty good. It's pretty good in here. We'll be off this trail soon. This is we're driving home from the off-road shoot, and because we're talking to you now, you'll note that we didn't die.
Right, that's true. If you hear this show before you watch the video, you kind of know the end of the movie before you watch it.
Right.
Ugh.
And I think I do have to say that we took this vehicle off-road pretty confidently, considering it's, the first car from a company and there's not a lot of backup plan. We don't have another vehicle.
That's true.
Vehicle or anything. Just kind of go.
But it wasn't, it's not a prototype. This is a production vehicle, and sure, some production cars have had problems, but I think the hardware has been tested enough. Like, the engine is not, they didn't make their own engine. They got it from BMW. Yeah, the engine should work. And then the rest of the hardware is fairly simple. Solid axles are fairly simple. Like they're known ideas. It's not experimental.
Yeah, but
I
as we found on the way back down the hill, and by the way, we're having a video of this. We're not going to do a whole review of the Grenadier in this podcast. In fact, we're gonna do mostly our best to talk about things other than this, because we have a whole video that is this. It's gonna be like 28 minutes or something. But just to finish on that thought, we did stress out the power steering system a little bit.
We did. I mean, this thing has big tires, but I mean, even I think we were coming down the hill, but we were doing 3-point turns on fairly flat ground, and it didn't seem to like it. You really needed to be moving a tiny amount to help the power steering system, and it was kind of like you said, it was whistling the whole time.
Yeah.
Like when you drove by me going down in a straight line, it was kind of, you can hear the pump doing its thing. So it seems like it struggles a little bit.
Yeah, but overall, I think the review of this vehicle is pretty positive.
Yeah.
But you'll see how it drives on the trail in that video, and we're going to drive it home in this thing in this little podcast here.
Something we didn't cover on the review, and I wish we did it on the drive up, is I wish we had a roller shade over these glass panels.
I said I wanted a shade.
Did you say that in the review?
Yes, I did. It would be a nice add-on.
Mm-hmm.
And if these things become popular, the aftermarket will certainly take care of it. It might also be an accessory that's available that this one just doesn't have.
Another option, maybe.
Or Ineos owners, they'll get mad. It's Ineos.
Ineos.
Not Ineos.
No, it's Ineos.
It's Ineos. You must pronounce it exactly like the oil company it's named after.
My father, John Shell.
Well, it had me thinking about cars named after oil companies.
Stephen British Petroleum III.
Chevron.
Yeah,
Chevron was a car, and is now a gas.
that's true. That was named after a person, right?
Chevron?
Yeah.
No, I think it's named after.
Chevrolet was a Frenchman.
Well, Louis Chevrolet is a person.
Yeah.
Chevron is not Chevrolet.
Oh, okay.
Chevron. You know what a chevron is?
Yeah, it's a little angular.
Thing. It's two sides of a triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Often seen on and around racetracks for various purposes. Yeah, that's a chevron.
We got a dusty here.
It's dirty.
We drove with the window. Holy crap, there's another one.
A second Ineos. Get the fuck out of here. Zach was all, why did we get the forward-facing cam?
LA County Fire Department. No,
Get out of here.
What are the odds?
Zach was all, why are we going to put on the forward-facing fire department?
I did know that.
Really see anything interesting. And now we've seen, that is one of 3 cars we've seen in this park.
That's wild. A white Ineos wagon, station wagon.
Yeah.
We have the pickup truck.
Yes. The Quartermaster.
Quartermaster, Trial Master, with, what was the other trim we have on this?
We have Fieldmaster.
Fieldmaster.
Oh, it's a lot. It's just a master of so many things.
Right.
Well, a quartermaster that's the master of the quarters, right? So is that just a nice way of saying like a housekeeper or like a house person, a butler?
Maybe.
An estate manager?
I mean,
It seems like a good estate manager vehicle, actually.
right, because you get in the bed, you can throw furniture in or something like that.
You know, it's so funny. This really is. It's a good, because you could do the grounds. You know, if you're driving around the rich people, you know, it's reasonably nice. But it's a good place to spend your time when you're driving around the grounds. But like the one person I know that is so interested in this car and wants to buy one is an estate manager.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know who you mean. Before you even said it, yeah.
And he wants to replace his 4Runner with one of these.
This makes sense for him. No, it actually really does.
Yeah.
Oh. So you don't like your 16 miles per gallon city? Meet the 14 miles per gallon city.
Yeah. It's not very fuel efficient, but it is very optimistic. It stays on full for a really long time.
Right, we did, 60 miles before the fuel gauge moved?
Often full. I've told you about my weird NSX fuel gauge that's apparently normal, right?
No.
So it stays on full for like 40 miles. A lot of cars do that, right? 35, 40, it stays on full. Then it starts to drop and it moves normally. And it gets to a quarter, like pretty quickly, hovers there for a while, and then gets to that red light, right? But here's the thing. The red light, I've measured this out like a bunch of times. Nice looking Rubicon. I actually think the choice of wheel and tire on that one was very good. Here's the thing. I've done this. Wait, where was I? The Rubicon distracted me.
Fuel gauge.
Oh, thank you. Right. When I fill it up, when the red light comes on, it has 5 gallons left in it, which in an NSX is like 120 miles of driving.
Wow.
And so it's like
Wait, how big is the tank capacity?
I think I want to say it's 16 gallons offhand, or maybe it's 16 or maybe even 18 gallons.
Whoa, so that's kind of an early alert.
Yeah, it's a very conservative gauge. It's weird, but fuel gauge.
You have a third of your tank left. Pull over and fill up.
Fuel gauge behavior is a real hobby of mine. Saying I could talk for days about the different behaviors of fucking fuel gauges.
I can't do that.
That's my version of like Jeremy Clarkson's like MG thing, you know?
MGs are nice though. I think they're gorgeous. You know, are they fast? No, they can be. They're just cool looking. Were you what? I think they're cool.
I don't think they're that much.
Do the hatch thing. Oh man, that thing's awesome.
Wait, it's the moment of truth. Ready? And
Silence.
I gotta say, I love off-roading, but I also love getting back to a tarmac after hours of off-roading.
Your camping's great, but when you're hiking back and you finally see the parking lot, the relief that washes over you is so powerful. Like you're done walking and you're alive and you know you didn't get lost, all of that.
Yeah, when we stopped to set up the cameras for this show, I texted wife like off mountain. It's okay.
Yeah,
you know?
right. I do that too. Like we came back. Actually, I do it more when we come back from the canyons because of the Palmdale 500 folks. Like I'm pretty nervous about that, a head-on situation.
Yeah, some real unscrupulous double yellow line crossing happening that morning commuting hours. People think it's like crazy when we're up there, but like to commute on that road is really where stuff is nuts.
People are really bold.
I've seen crazier stuff with the commuters do on those roads than what enthusiasts do for real. If you count like standard issue canyon speeding as something that is not morally wrong,
Right.
and then I've seen
Because we're discounting people that like go up there to drift or drive
No,
like
I'm not
idiots. Yeah.
I'm not discounting drifting up there. I don't think you should be doing that.
No, I don't either. I'm saying like those are the people that are the dangerous enthusiasts. But normal people who's out to good vibes and like speed a little bit.
Yeah.
The people that commute in clapped Camrys and work trucks and like we came around a corner once, double yellow out of a tunnel. And when someone was taking a peek on the outside to see if they could pass a car in some S's, I mean, people are they're running way too late.
I remember that incident. Do you remember what the car was taking a peek?
Civic?
Oh, no, it was a Suburban.
Oh. It would have killed us either way.
And we're in like a McLaren or something going the other way. It's,
Just wake up 5 minutes earlier, whoever you are, and don't kill anyone on the highway.
Zach, I have a question for you. Sure. Do you think that recirculating ball steering with minus 10 PSI in the tires is improved or worsened?
In terms of how it tracks, you'll probably have less tram line, but it will be even slower to react to your inputs, is my guess.
Yes. Slower to react, and it is a lot heavier.
Which it didn't need to be. Because the steering weight of this car, the heaviness gives you the false impression that it is sporty. And then the revolutions to get it to turn tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little,
it was our choice.
We're in the off-road, and it's not great on-road. That's the trade-off. So
yeah. If I was an estate manager at like that house in The Gentleman, did you see The Gentleman? Like one of those big. The idea of The Gentleman either the film or the television series, both of which are great. The idea is that there's enough people in England that have inherited royal titles like Duke or whatever, and they have a big estate, right? But they've never had like jobs. So they don't really have any money. They certainly don't have enough money to care for these estates and have staffs and all that. But they're trying to keep up the lifestyle. So in The Gentleman, and this doesn't spoil anything because this is revealed in the first couple of scenes of both, they lease out their land to weed growers who build underground grow rooms on their estates.
Got it.
And then, a variety of hijinks.
Like Clarkson's and mushroom and growing area.
Yeah, the huge.
Right.
Huge. Okay. Big commercial shit. So anyway, estate. If you have one of those estates, this would have been a perfect product placement in The Gentleman.
But I feel like the amount of wealth you would need to make this your estate vehicle over a John Deere something is insane. Like, you have no money left to maintain your estate, but you or your groundskeeper drive a $100,000 truck around instead of a $22,000, John Deere, Polaris, whatever.
Clarkson farms in a Range Rover, a Lamborghini tractor.
And where did his money come from? Television.
Aren't all farms TV shows?
I think Tanner Fowl seems to be.
Yeah, this farm looks fun. We should go visit.
Look, amazing. That guy has won at life.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a
huge ranch. Is it
awesome. So
we probably don't even need to drive. I could probably just be like, buddy, next time you're in LA, let me just hop on the hop on the plane.
Hop on the twin prop.
What are you? Did he get a twin?
He's got a turbo prop or something.
He had a plane that I saw that was a single propeller plane, but it was like a pretty fast.
Yeah, I think it's a turbo single prop. Yeah.
Okay, I thought I heard you say twin.
I did, but I don't know anything about planes or his personal fleet. So
doesn't Aaron have a twin, like an older one?
I thought he just had a Cessna. I thought he had a normal single prop.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know about planes, but once these guys get into planes,
I know I shouldn't be a pilot. This is as close to piloting a plane as I should get.
Really?
Yeah.
You flew that drone thing.
And as soon as I did the checklist with supervision led by the COO, I went, I'm not a person to do this by myself.
Yeah, by yourself.
I have a handler. Yeah. And they kept saying, Zach, so this is why they didn't have
like a trainer one with another person in it.
The weight limit. You'd be aware of the weight limit.
Yeah.
But they said this is why people that fly have checklists, because you don't have to remember all the things.
You just have to remember to start the check.
You just have to remember and care enough to go through the checklist.
Yeah.
And I'm not that person, I improvise too much. And if I went through the list and one thing was broken, you need to go, oh, never mind, we're not going on the trip. We're not, sunk cost fallacy cannot exist if you're flying a private aircraft. I would go, we already came all this way. It'll be fine. Probably we can glide if we need to.
We can glide if we need to.
Yeah.
Hey, Zach, what are the things that you never want a pilot to say?
I'm a big fan of contingency plans and having a bunch of them. So I would have parachutes and people go, do you go skydiving? I go, no, that's for us, just in case. Because I skipped something on the checklist. This is why I shouldn't have I shouldn't fly an aircraft. I'll go ride in one. I'll ride with Tanner or Aaron, that's fine.
I really liked the little tiny bit of flying that I did when Hannah got me a lesson. It was literally, and I'm sure I could learn it, but I didn't want to, the radio shit.
Oh, yeah. That's hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. Although I think once you're out away from the city, there's less.
Right? Yes, I do think that's true. And you could probably go some time without hearing much radio at all. But I just, I couldn't understand, not even 1%
I agree.
of what was being said on the radio, and I didn't give enough of a fuck to try. The next level of commitment from that first, couple $100 test flight, 20 minutes. The next level of commitment is a whole,
but
all your free time for a year.
Do you think that it's if a pilot who's not into cars listens to us talk about with chassis codes.
Folks, we got to take a quick break from today's episode because Delete Me is supporting this one. We love them and they are back. Listen, has someone that you know, or maybe yourself, been a victim of identity theft or maybe harassed, stalked, doxxed, right? Here's what my problem is: robocalls. I hate them to the point where I picked up a real call today and I started with the line, "Are you a human?" which is something I've been conditioned to do because I have so many robocalls. Personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see, and more than you think. Your name and contact info, social security number, home address, etc., even information about your family members are all being compiled by data brokers and sold online, and they make a profit off it. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details, which can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, spam, and more. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. I used it. It was so easy. All I did was make an account, like same usual information, but then they started asking me very basic questions about my past, where I lived, where I worked, phone numbers, who I'm related to, where I went to school, and on and on. It took about 20 minutes. Then they went to work and I didn't hear from them for a couple of days. And then I got this email summary saying they found like 1,000 bits of information. Most of them could get automatically removed, but then there was a process where I had to go through and individually select about, 20 or 25 different things, which was like, we found this. Are you related to this person? Is this phone number related to you? Is this address related to you? And it was yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Took a few more minutes. And then a couple weeks later, I got another email. Same kind of thing. And Delete Me, it's not just a one-time service. It's always working in the background, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. So take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/tire and use promo code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire. Enter code TIRE at checkout. joindeleteme.com/tire, code TIRE. And thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring today's episode. And let's get back to it on the Smoking Tire podcast.
Like, it's just
You don't need a chassis code to drive a car.
You don't need one. That's very true. But I'm saying, like, it's like a language you have to learn. You learn the short
Drug mobbing.
And Mike Amusio, who worked for Kelly Blue Book, and he took me for a flight in his helicopter, said that if you can learn air traffic control in LA, you can do it anywhere because it's the hardest place to learn to talk. There's so many frequencies and so many things happening. Sure, it doesn't make it easy.
And I understand the passion for it. For sure, I understand the passion for it. It's just like, it was not like, in order to do the thing I want to do,
right,
I need to do this other thing. And that was bad math for me.
Right. Before you're allowed to drive a car, you have to learn Japanese.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. You have to learn all these call signs, east, west, what are we doing, all that stuff. Yeah.
Like, I've already done that once with boats. And I really like it. I like it with boats. But you don't have to do it very often. It's like,
the pacing also seems slower.
Look what they've built here. This shopping center.
It's a building.
It's a shopping center.
First time seeing one?
No, but it means that for once, Zach, there might be something good to eat when we come off this particular
point.
Hill.
That's a good point.
I love you, Sand Canyon, but listen, if you're passionate about food, go somewhere where there isn't good food and start making good food, because it's a beautiful neighborhood around here, and I would love to live at the foothills of these mountains, but there ain't a fucking thing to eat out here. Oh, look, Frederick Osbo on the side of the wall here.
That's right.
That's probably a Jen Horsey placement. Shout out to her.
Yeah. Our friend is the agent for, like, Tops, all the Papadagos. Yeah. It's a good team to represent. Yeah. They keep doing well. Yeah. Although James Dean won FD Championship last year again, and he's part of RTR.
Well, they're very good, too.
Yeah, and he is a cyborg.
What the fuck? Oh, it's a tire pressure warning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, podcast people. You may have to live with that one. When we aired down to go off-road, when you put the car in off-road mode, smartly, it disregards all ADAS stuff. It disregards tire pressure sensors unless you have like a blowout, I think. But other vehicles we've driven, like something I did recently, I want to say the Land Cruiser, like wouldn't turn off the parking sensors when I was off-roading. And so I'd get close to bushes and stuff and it would beep like crazy.
I'm glad you brought this up. I have a complaint about the RAV4 Hybrid that I want a Toyota engineer to hear and explain to me.
Okay.
Or
at the very least, David Twig.
When let's say you're parked at a spot and there's a bush in front of you. You put the car in reverse. Your forward parking sensors go off. Like they beep a lot. But you're in reverse. The IO camera is on.
Yeah.
However, we noticed that if you back into a spot, when you put it into drive, the rear sensors don't alert you to what's behind you because they know you're going forward.
Oh.
You understand what I'm saying? Like the car goes, I know that you can only go backwards, but watch out for this thing in front of you. But when you reverse it or flip it around, it goes, don't worry about what's behind you. You're going forward.
Yeah.
It drives that Caesar in a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's loud. The Toyota safety alerts, they really want you to be safe and they yell at you so very loudly.
I know we wouldn't try to talk too much about this truck, but it just happened and I want to put it on the record. Did you notice while making our 3-point turns for doing our drive-by shots, because you drove some and I drove some, did you notice that in off-road mode, the backup camera doesn't come on in reverse?
Yeah, I did notice that. That was weird. I use the mirrors to look at the straw, so we don't drive over it.
I think the backup camera is quite useful if you have to go in reverse.
Yeah, that's a circuit they should fix because this also has forward-facing cameras for automatic emergency braking. But when you put it in off-road mode, obviously it turns that off, which is good because sometimes it will detect the ground. You're going down a slope and there's an uphill and it might auto brake. That'd be a problem. But we know that the cameras can be super helpful off-roading.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't want to drive over the vegetation if you're turning around.
No, when you go up a peak with a big breakover, like Land Rover's cameras are so good on their modern stuff.
Yeah.
With that seeing under the nose thing.
But those I think are mounted under the front bumper. Yeah. For that purpose, whereas like this has a camera at the top of the windshield, so it wouldn't work for that. But the backup camera would be, invaluable for turning around.
I was disappointed in the G-Wagon's front camera. It's really wide angle, and to the point where on that sort of camelback rock that we drive on these trails, like it makes it very distorted and hard to really discern what you're looking at all. It's not great. I mean, otherwise that thing rules, but like it's that was a bad camera. You know what I did? I dropped the bottle cap on the floor and it's gone under the seat, and now
He's got to chug a lug
or hold it. So you know what? A bunch of people sent me a story this morning or last night about the first ticket was issued for that Australian supercar license.
Oh.
So the law went into effect like whatever, a week ago or days ago. And on the very first day, someone was driving around in a Lambo, I believe it was a Huracan. It had no tags on it. Got pulled over. I didn't know you could roll no tags in Australia. Australia is a little more surveillance-y than America.
Apparently you can't. And they got pulled over.
Right, true. But I didn't know it was like culturally it was a thing that was even done.
Okay.
When I say can, yeah, there's legally, and then it's like, is it done in that region?
Gotcha. Well, what do they get a ticket for?
They got a ticket for no tags, and they got a ticket for driving without the ultra high performance license.
Right, because they now require you to have it. Yeah,
it's not like you don't get any special privileges. People sent it to me because this is when I've been talking for years along with Rob Ferretti about there should be a high performance license that allows you to drive a higher speed than the regular speed limit, but comes with like extra levels of training and possibly restriction.
Right.
almost like a commercial grade driver's license, like a CDL for speeding.
Right.
But in Australia, it's not that. It's if you're going to buy a car that's over a certain power to weight ratio. And we would look up the number if we weren't in the car. It was like 300. It was such a fucking Australian number. It was like 370 kilowatts per ton.
Okay.
Which is like, we have to do that individually on every single.
It's an EV, and then
Yeah. Oh, actually, they're right. It works for that. That's actually true, right? I hadn't thought about the fact that their default was also the EV, even though in hindsight that seems incredibly obvious. But anyway, he got ticketed for not having the license, and it's like an hour online course. It's like pretty bullshit.
Well, so it seems like, and I'm not usually one to go this direction, but it sounds like it's probably a revenue generator more than a safety thing. Like, you don't get, because what we want is extra training with then extra privileges.
Right.
You have this high performance vehicle that can go fast, safely go very fast. Here are the conditions you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And you know how to handle the vehicle. But they're going, these cars are dangerous. You can go faster and lose control. Let's give you a quick hour-long online course. You pay money, and now you can go driving.
Yeah.
That's not really preparing you for if the thing kicks out at 120 miles an hour because you're going too fast, or it's raining, or if the tires are compounds in the wet. So, we need to look at the class. Maybe if someone's listening from Australia, tell us what's in that course, because that doesn't seem thorough enough.
No, it seems dumb. But also it seems like it gives a possible prerequisite, and maybe to pull people over. I don't know if they are a stop and frisk for supercar drivers. Like,
you know what? That would be karma. Like, the stop and frisk was definitely not aimed in people that can afford supercars. So maybe it went that way.
we get to see what it's like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm pretty sure that when that Harley rider got on, he adjusted the damping on his rear suspension as he merged. Like, he reached back and did something with his shock.
Oh, you don't think he gave us a little what's up for being in kind of enthusiasm?
No, I think he gestured to signal because he doesn't have signal or blinkers, and then he reached back and set his shift to soft or hard. I don't know. He just looked like someone who races motorcycles up in Sunland, and then whatever. Just like a weird detail I noticed.
Remember right before they closed the Snake in 2018, all the superbike guys had switched over to Harleys, and because they got bored of doing stunts and carving on Gixxers and shit, they're like, let's see what this is like on a fat boy.
It's amazing.
It's like dragging sparks up.
Some of the most amazing motorcycle riding you'll ever see is people dragging sparks with ape hangers.
Yeah.
And their knee is inches from rocks. Really, it was impressive. It was really impressive.
King of the Baggers has become a thing, right? That ongoing.
It is. They're in multiple seasons, and the times they run are really fast.
Yeah.
Because the engines are really big. It's incredible what they've done with those. For people that don't know, they take bagger motorcycles with saddlebags, traditionally Vitsit bikes, and they race them wheel to wheel at racetracks. Famously for us, Laguna Seca. But they do multiple events, and they haul ass.
Someone started as a meme, basically, as a joke. Wouldn't it be funny and silly if we race these things? And then it sort of became, it was such a hit that it then turned into a real thing.
Well, and they got competitive because that's what,
How often will you see a RAV4 flat toe another RAV4? Not often.
It's sort of a human centipede. It's
pretty good.
So we have 30 minutes left. Should we go to questions from people, or?
Oh, we do?
Only because there's no traffic today.
Why not?
Because it's later than we normally drive back by 2 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally, this drive takes us an hour and a half.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have more topics? I'm just noticing the time.
That's a good thing to notice. I really appreciate that. What was I going to say? So, Eric heard us talking about his Porsche on the show, and now he wants to sell the Porsche. and he gave me details on the warranty. And again, if you didn't listen to the last episode, my general manager Eric has a 997.2 turbo in a stick with like I think it's like 15,000 miles, give or take. I don't know exactly, but it's in that the area, 15,000 miles. Stick .2 turbos are very, very rare, and low mileage ones are very valuable. And he's had this one for a long time. What makes it interesting is that it is still under warranty. This is a 2012 car that has a bumper-to-bumper Porsche warranty until, I believe, like fall of 2026 or 70,000 miles. And so we're going to list the car for sale. And
You see, it's gorgeous. It's on BBSs, right?
yeah, it's on BBSs, but it comes with the stock wheels too.
That is like the best turbo though, because you get 997.2 interior. You get the good interior, but it's a manual and it's Mesger.
And it's so fast.
It's so fast and can be made even faster and hold up to whatever boost you want to throw at it. That is one of like the unicorn 911 turbos.
Yeah, it's a good one. You do not see them very often. Almost all of the 997 turbos that you see are Dom ones, manuals. All the manuals.
Everyone went PDK.
Yeah, and because most of them were sold as turbo S's, which were PDK also, and the acceleration, obviously, with the introduction of PDK to the 911 turbo, it was a big deal at the time,
For sure.
and it was the best automatic at the time, and it was the first time that people didn't feel as much like pressure to buy the stick because the PDK was also like respectable.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this shitty auto like with the 996. So anyway, that's kind of funny. That's a lot of warranty remainder for a 2012. That's crazy. But yeah, let's talk to the people. If you want to ask questions for the show, comment on the wind noise of the Ineos Grenadier, get the show ahead of time, get an ad-free listening experience, all that good stuff that you're used to, that you love, and that makes podcasting a direct-to-consumer experience. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast.
All right. So for Patreons listening, we're hitting the leftover questions from last show, and then we'll hit the new ones. So this is from Barely Streetable. It says, other than the convenience of 4 doors, what would your pick be between an Audi RS3 and RS5, and why?
Or
RS3 gets the inline 5 turbo.
Yeah, the RS5 is like a 6-cylinder turbo. Like, it's not a bad car at all, but like, I don't know, it doesn't really do it for me. That powertrain doesn't feel as special.
Yeah, true.
I'd still rather have the RS3.
The one we had that was the what was the trim level with the upgrade? Like they upgrade the diff. There was like the
Competition, or
I mean, you get that. That was a pretty good driver's car.
it was.
But yeah, the engine's not as unique. And I think they had the exact same front interior volume.
Like front seats to
Front
back.
seat, shoulder, everything was basically the same.
It is pretty close.
So you're not getting a ton more luxurious space with the RS5 versus the RS3. So
Yeah, the RS3 rides well enough that you don't need to go to a bigger car in order to get a better ride.
all right. Someone says, I hope Matt likes my username. Do you have any memorable driving roads in the Pacific Northwest, specifically around Portland? How do you plan a route for a driving group? We've covered this before. You just Google Earth. Look for squiggles.
Yeah.
Look for as few squiggles with as few roads or driveways intersecting with the squiggle, and then go to Street View and look for good tarmac, because you can usually tell if the road is dirt or bad cracked up tarmac unless it's been repaved.
Yeah.
You look for those things.
Yeah. It isn't all that difficult. You pick your start and your end points, and then you drag the line around and find the squiggly routes, and then you inspect the quality of the road from there.
Right. And if you have time, you could pre-run it.
Yeah.
If you really want, I mean, that's the best thing to do if you can, but if you can't, just go on the adventure.
I don't have any memorable Pacific Northwest roads, not because the roads aren't great, just because all the times I've driven them have been on like press launches and stuff where they give you a route. And so I'm not really paying attention so much to the names of the roads, but I mean, wherever you are, find the mountains and then find the roads on and off those mountains.
True.
Is generally a good place to start.
Yeah. Or head into the woods.
Yeah.
And head back out of the woods. Pretty much it.
Yeah. Mountains rarely let you down when it comes to finding a road.
Yeah. They can't go straight up them for a reason.
Yeah.
Murray Manchantazuk says he had a deposit on a BRZ Series Purple, but changed his mind after test driving and then buying a GR Corolla Core. As his only car and first new car, how should he preserve it? How do you decide between PPF over ceramic or ammo reflex?
Math. PPF is expensive.
Yes.
To PPF a car costs probably as much as, not a repaint, but like a car is anywhere from like $6,000 to $10,000 to PPF.
Yeah, we're talking full coverage.
Yeah, full coverage.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. You could do the nose. You can just, you could do half a car.
A lot of people do, let's call it like impact areas.
Yeah, that's like the nose.
A lot of the ears. Yeah, stuff like that.
But what I like to do, I mean, if it's a car that you're going to keep for a long time, I mean, that's usually the first math. Are you going to keep this car for a very long time? And if I have to repaint the bumper or repaint bits of the car, how much will that cost versus spending $6,000 to $9,000, let's call it, on a full PPF to guarantee you won't, do that. That's one thing. Also, you can't really PPF like old cars quite as well because the paint is more fragile, and so you don't really want to put PPF on like an original paint car that's 20 or 30 years old. Ceramic is like fine, and Reflex, Airmo's product, is a ceramic-like coating that just lasts about half as long as ceramic. Ceramic has, in theory, a 5 to 10 year commitment, level to it. I like to do PPF with ammo reflex on top of it, and that makes it look really great. It makes it really easy to wash. But that's for cars like my Porsche or the Acura NSX, where I really want to preserve that original paint as long as I can. With a Corolla, I know you think you want to keep it forever now, and maybe you do, but I would say the cost to PPF it probably outweighs the return, because even if you have to paint the front bumper, it won't be that much for a Corolla, comparatively speaking, compared to like a Ferrari.
Right, if you PPF the whole thing, it's like 20% of the cost of the car, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you will not get that back when you sell it. I mean, it will make the car easier to sell, to tell someone, hey, the whole thing's PPF'd. But I would call a shop and see what they would charge for the high impact zones.
Yeah.
The frequently impacted zones, and see what that's like. But it's a lot more expensive than ceramic coating.
You know what I love about PPF though? The unintended other thing about PPF is I don't have to feel bad about like leaning on my car or other people leaning on my car. Like if I'm just standing around in a parking lot or wherever, like I want to lean on the car, like I'm not going to scratch it. I'm going to put this beverage down on the car. I'm not going to scratch it or like leave a ring in the paint or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It just like, it allows me like one extra step of like, I don't have to be too precious with this because it's got the protection on it.
Right.
And that makes me feel good. Even on the Safari 911 when we did it, it really made me feel good. Lean on the car and sit on it, like whatever.
Well, and take it off in the dirt, just go shred and without worrying about it.
It made me feel real nice.
Great M8 mate says he has a 718 GT4 manual. He was thinking of doing the Deman thing, but he's worried about long-term reliability on an engine built to such an aggressive level. So his question is kind of multifaceted. Do you know anything about the long-term reliability of that engine? Or would you rather switch to a 991.2 GT3 Touring or a 992 Touring to get that horsepower in what is perceived as a more reliable package?
I mean, I've never personally witnessed a Deman engine blow up. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I've never personally witnessed it. And I feel like if it became problematic, I would probably be the first person that they would call. Because
Right.
as their biggest name customer, I am somehow a de facto representative of the brand.
Sure.
Which is fine. I understand that. And that I've never heard anything like that. Now, I've heard people complain about Rick because he could be hard to deal with, but that's a different story. It's not the car or the motor. And Rick has told me and insists, and I don't have a good reason to doubt him because he's been building race cars for a very long time, that this engine, meaning the 4.5, the service life of it is 100,000 street miles. A factory Porsche engine is longer than that, probably. But that's what this engine is. That's his comfort level for its life. It was something like 25 hours of racing between rebuilds on this same engine. And according to him, again, you can maximize that life by doing a proper break-in, which is what I did. And I went through are we going to go into the fog? This would be so nice. I went through some, a mild headache of a process to do, levels of improving the throttle and pushing it harder and whatever, while doing oil changes and Blackstone tests to make sure everything was fine. So there's no metal in there that's not supposed to be there. And the cylinders are the bores are good and blah, 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 blah. So we've had no problems. There hasn't been a whole lot of people emailing me going, I've had these problems and, they're not taking my calls or whatever, which is what would happen for sure if there were problems.
Right.
So anyway, to answer your question, a 991.2 Touring is an exceptionally good car. But I've seen those engines blow up. I've seen a customer's 992 GT3 took an enormous dump about 100 yards from my driveway at idle speed, and Porsche Santa Clarita did a full engine replacement warranty. Car had 1,200 miles on it.
Right.
So, I have no evidence that a Deman motor is less reliable than a Porsche motor. None. So, there's that. But, it's sort of you gotta be comfortable with pushing. It's a little bit of pay the cost to be the boss. And the car is so fast.
I mean, it's a different thing. The experience is different. Like the torque, the sound, all of that. For me, it is definitely a different thing than driving a GT3 Touring or even ST.
Yeah.
It's all deeper sound, torque down low, all that stuff. It feels way more hot rod and race car. I mean, you'll have a very unique car if you get that. But you just have to be willing to deal with the uncertainty in the back of your mind, which may be unfounded. And then if something does go wrong with the engine, you can't just take it to your Porsche dealership the way if you had a GT3 with a warranty, you could.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you have a GT3 that's out of warranty, you got to use one.
Yeah.
And the engine explodes for some unfortunate reason.
You're equally hosed.
Right. Either way, you're paying for someone to rebuild an engine, and it won't be cheap.
I will say part of how I ended up in the Deman thing in the first place is we've driven all of the other Porsches. We haven't owned them all, but we've gotten a taste, and we will continue to get tastes. We continue to be able to drive the newest GT3 for a couple 100 miles in a way you'd want to drive one. And so we get that experience often enough and know what it's like that I wasn't personally passionate about having that exact same experience in my garage.
Yeah.
By working with something that's sort of outside of that system, I don't think I'd get tired of it the way it is if I had a stock one and then I just want the newer, faster, whatever one later, you know?
Right. That's possible.
So anyway.
Double O Slow says, do you think car condos, where people get a condo and they can modify it how they want, would be successful in LA, or do you think it wouldn't because of regulation, cost of land, etc.?
I think it depends. Like, I mean, car condos exist in LA. They don't exist like in the city of Los Angeles, but they exist in the suburbs surrounding Los Angeles. I think within the city, they could be very, very, very expensive.
It'd be so expensive.
And it's not to say you couldn't get it. You probably could. It's a crazy place. There's rich people all over the place. But like building it would be, I mean, I ran the math on doing it. You know, just the property, you know, it's like 50 million for dirt. You know, like,
Right. You know, because if you want to store, what, 6 cars per condo, let's just say that.
yeah.
That's, you know, it's not a ton of cars, but it's more than someone can store at their house. The land needed for that, for one unit,
Really expensive.
I mean, that's like a house
Yeah.
that you could sell. You could build in LA and sell for $2 million or, you know, something like that.
I mean, what's nice about the car condos is, you know, they could be people's offices also. It could be a business expense. If your office is there, you know, you register it. It can be your corporate office and whatever. And it's where people socialize. Like, if I wouldn't have done anything with any of this business if there was a car condo reasonably priced somewhere in West LA.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't have gone through all this trouble or needed to. You know, I would have seen the value in buying a car condo at that time. But now, fuck.
Yeah.
It'd be so hard.
Be too expensive. This is the wrong place for it.
Not to mention, those are considered commercial properties, so they have to be ADA, commercially insured. I mean, it's a whole other level of regulation. It is very, very challenging. But they exist in the greater LA area, though. Yeah.
Isaiah Stanley says, with nothing exciting on the horizon, what is more likely to happen to Nissan? A restructuring, or you completely gut it and sell off the IP?
I think they're going to go back to Datsun. I think they'll just do that. Yeah, you know what? We're going back to the good old days of Datsun.
I think they'll get restructured. There's talk of like Honda putting in a bunch of money to buy a piece of it. I mean, I think we underestimate the size of Nissan,
Yeah.
how big a part of Renault they've been, how big a manufacturer they are globally, and how many cars they sell. I have to look up the numbers later, but
It's a lot to call the
company. Right. It's someone is always willing to pick up the pieces at a discount, you know, maybe 25 cents on the dollar, because for them that's a deal, and then they can do something with it. This car we're in, it was built in an old Mercedes factory, you know? I'm sure Mercedes was happy to get some money for it. Liang Ku says, in our opinion, what separates a driver from average to decent, decent to good, and good to great on public roads? I like this question.
Okay, what was the lowest level?
Average.
Average. Okay. Average is you get around without causing any accidents. People don't honk at you very often. People don't feel inspired to pass you aggressively and flip you off. Once you get past that, that's average.
Yeah, you signal, you yell when the light turns green.
Yeah. You drive, average is pretty much like textbook, you know, driver, the licensing standard stuff.
Now, I think good for me, an attribute is when there's traffic, people stack up as close as safely possible.
Right.
They're very aware of the cars around them, and like, if a car is behind them waiting to go left, and there's just not enough room between the curb and that car in front of you,
Right.
the driver notices and they move up and you can fit.
Yeah.
That to me, you are a good driver. You're paying attention.
good to me is where I start to notice your smoothness of your inputs, where I can really feel that your throttle tip in is super smooth, your like brake pedal is really smooth, and where you start to take steps to smooth out the ride by seeing the road surface and adjusting accordingly.
Yeah.
Not just like blindingly going over potholes.
Very good point. I would say that also, if you're great, you go to the next level of you're in a canyon and you can kind of minimize how much people are moving around, or you downshift on the downhills so you're not eating up the brakes.
Yeah, great is like you start using parts of the car like manually shifting or low range or other things that are like,
Yeah.
you have to know an extra level to use, but also like a greater situational awareness. Like your eyes are always doing the four stop, right? Like, do you do the four stop? Like every 15 seconds, I check all four positions. Position one is your eyes ahead, but then it's like center mirror, right mirror, left mirror. Yeah, every 15 or 20.
Yeah, like if you call out something, you're like, oh, this person up ahead is doing something weird. Like you're slowing down preemptively because that truck starts to wiggle.
Yeah.
And you go, that person's going to make a bad pass in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I would say you're at the highest level, is where you're predicting when another car is about to do something really dumb and then they do it.
Right.
That's like another one. You know where you get that one is like motorcycling.
Right, when you were on that scooter and saw the person.
Yeah. But that's a very good question.
Yeah, I like that question.
Yeah.
Nathan Reynolds, these bumps were terrible for eating.
Great also, I would say, if I can ride with you and you're using techniques you clearly learned on a racetrack on the road, like really nice heel toe shifting, if you like trail brake a little bit into a corner like nicely, and someone taught you that on a track and you brought it back to the road,
For sure.
that's when you get to great also.
All right, Nathan Reynolds has a long question, but basically he loves the E90 M3, but he's upset that they never put that engine in a Z4. Is he alone in thinking that?
So I drove the Z4 GT3 race car,
Right.
which had not quite exactly the same. It had the E39 M5 V8 in it, a Dynan-built motorsport version of that engine. And a V8 Z4 is good. Objectively very, very good. And I think someone should figure out how to do an engine swap and get the M3 motor, the V8, into a Z4. Sure, there's a way.
And then Christian says he's visiting LA. Well, he's here this week. Basically, if you're going to rent a car here, would you rent a new 7 Series, a new S-Class, or a new Range Rover Sport? Which will have the softest, most comfortable ride? Ooh, I haven't driven a new 7 Series, so I'm not sure.
I haven't driven a new 7 Series either. Johnny seems to really like it. It's a weird-looking car.
Terrible looking car. The S-Class I drove was the new AMG, and it was too stiff, but it was the AMG.
The regular one probably would not be that stiff.
Hope so. Range Rover Sport. I would do that just for the visibility.
Yeah, Range Rover Sport, maybe. And also that's a tighter package. Shorter, not as long. Also, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like a Panamera? Cayenne? No, softest ride? Yeah, Range Rover Sport.
Probably. Or
You
regular.
could probably get a full-size Range
Yeah.
Rover. I mean, a full-size Range Rover on either from like Enterprise or Turo would be like not that much.
Yeah.
I would do, if you can swing a full-size Rover, that is the perfect Los Angeles car.
All right, my main man Casey says, where do we think Stellantis will be in 3 years? Do we think a federal auto bailout program would ever happen again? Well, I don't think we need a massive federal program because the other companies are doing pretty well.
Yeah,
Stellantis,
just fucking rename the whole thing Jeep. Call it a game.
kind of agree. Stellantis, well, they own so many other companies. That's the problem.
Bring back AMC.
But their CEO left last week.
Yeah, they made that out to be a little bit bigger, I think, than it, because he was going to retire in a year anyway, and from my father, I know how shitty a company restructuring or a sale or a takeover or whatever it can be. And if I'm the CEO and I'm rich as fuck and I've had a 30-year career and it's not looking so good, I kind of understand pulling the ripcord before being dragged out for, because if he are, let's say he works, 40 hours a week now. If there's a takeover going on or a restructuring, he's going to have to do like 80 hours a week for a year.
And he has to restructure everything and then leave.
Yeah.
So, and that's that would be a hard thing for the company, I think, optics wise. Like, this person's on their way out.
Yeah.
So if everything doesn't work out perfectly, people will say, did they put in as much time as they could? They were on their way out anyway. That's probably a bad idea.
He gets one day of bad press.
Yep.
And then is gone, versus having to deal with, a corporate restructuring where there's no outcome where he looks good.
Yeah. This person, I pull out beach towing on Instagram. They live in Nantucket. They saw tons of Grenadiers. When they saw them in photos, hated it, saw them in person, and they like it. So what vehicles have we hated the photos of, but changed our tune when we saw them in the wild? New Vantage. I thought it looked weird. In the wrong angle can make Astons look strange. The mouths are so big and the shape of them.
Yeah, that's a good question. Where photos were terrible and
I mean, Rivian, we have one in front of us, but when I first saw the headlights, I was that stupid, like, this isn't like the thing I'm familiar with. What are these ovals?
Yeah.
But the shape of the car is great.
I've gotten used to the headlights on the Rivian. Man, that's an interesting one, because I feel like I could normally think of a whole bunch. Like the Ineos, I said it wrong. The Ineos, it's a subtle wrong, but it's a wrong. The Ineos, when we saw it at Goodwood Festival of Speed, it was like some real early prototypes. And it wasn't so much that I didn't like how it looked. It's just that it looked a little cheap, but it might have just been like 3D printed, interiors or something. But, and the production one doesn't seem that way at all. But,
Gotta fill these tires up.
yeah. Man, what other car has looked better in person than the first photos?
The new Zeo 6, because I don't really like the C8, but seeing it in person, it's hard to communicate proportion and subtle fender flare in pictures, especially depending on the color they use.
Yeah.
That helped a bit.
Yeah, I'm just like looking around, hoping to see one and be like, yes, it's a Volvo S40. That's the one I wanted. Man, what car? I don't care how boring this radio is. I'm not giving up until I come up with one. Watch how hard it is to, we're going to pull into the bay because we got to put air in the tires. Shit. What car was ugly in photos and then good in person? Adjust ISO.
Yeah. Hopefully it is. I'm looking around at the parking bay here.
Ugly in photos and good in person. I feel stumped.
I think it depends. When I first saw the 720S, I thought the headlights, again, were strange. But when I see the profile of it, I just love it.
Yeah. Enzos, Ferrari Enzos, I think look.
I still think they look
I
weird.
still don't think they look very good. But they're definitely better in person.
The thing with photos is, unless there's something that can communicate proportional size, it can look weird.
Gunther works. Gunther works don't photograph.
They
as
don't,
well.
especially from the front.
Especially from the front, especially using something like an iPhone.
Yeah.
They photograph fine with like a 400 mil from like 30 yards away.
Yeah, but if you're too high, Porsches in general, if you do the high down at the hood,
yeah,
it flattens everything. It looks like 928. It's not good.
Yeah. Well, that's our slightly truncated show. We'll save everything for the next one. But it's important to use your time wisely. That's what we've learned making content. And we had an hour and change to drive. And we thought we'd use it talking to you folks. Thank you to our patrons for your questions today. Thank you to everyone else for listening to us yak. And we'll see you later. Bye.